the Canucks are already, they are a slow team, and they were a slow team with the Sedins. They have a chance now to kind of reimage themselves. Jason Spezza will not get that done. And sorry, I don't believe, file me under skeptical, that Tom Ghilardi and the Stars are going to present assets and picks to the Canucks and Aquilini to take 1 year of Spezza. No, I don't believe it.
But I think that's the key for me is, and I'm with you, I don't see an appetite for Spezza here in Vancouver, but of all the things when you talk about Jason Spezza it's just 1 year left on his contract.
Right, so why would Dallas give up anything of value for you to take it?
No, and that's a fair question to ask, but if you're the Canucks, you're not locking into, if they go out into the market and spend all this money and gobs of money that they've got now, I see and I hear so much about, sign these guys to 1 year contracts. Thomas Vanek was signed in September. He didn't have options in September. You got him on a 1 year deal.
Right.
But most of these guys that get to the open market work hard for that chance to hit some sort of home run. Now, they don't all hit home runs, but Gagne is a perfect example. They had to give him 3 years last year, and he is a mid-range guy. So if you're looking at better than mid-range free agents, you're not getting them on 1 year deals. And that's my concern, whether it's Bozek, and you've laid out the dots that are connected to Newport and why it could very well make sense that Tyler Bozek winds up in Vancouver.
Well,
but they're not getting him less than 3 at the
3
short
years.
end.
Yeah, 3 years. He's 32, so he's not getting, I don't think he's getting a monster. He's 32, 40 points, and he's defensively limited. I don't think he's going to get a big 4 or 5 year deal. I think he's in that 3 year range. Another guy, Riley Nash, pending UFA in Boston. He's kind of anchoring their third line. But he's got the same agent as, he's got Overhart. So he's got the same agent as BX and Kessler. So I'm not sure that can work. But there's another guy who Boston found cheap. He's kind of on that Vegas MO, find a guy that's underdeployed or underused somewhere and then get him instead of, they bought high on Gagne. That's buying high. He was almost out of the NHL the year before. He came to Columbus. Columbus had him in a really sheltered role. And it was an ingenious, I can't even believe that a Torts team came up with it, but they had him on a fourth line. They sheltered him, gave him offensive deployment, gave him a big-time role in the middle of the power play, in the middle of the ice, where he can, use his creativity and playmaking to help produce offense, and it worked. And he had a 50-point season. Buying Gagne was not like some under-the-rock guy. Buying Gagne was buying high.
Right. But it's just that, based on one 50-point season, he was able to command a 3 year deal.
Right. From
a bad Vancouver team that ultimately overpaid, too.
And now what? I was writing about this today. What happens to Gagne now? They're for sure chasing a middle six center. The hope was that he was part of the succession plan to the Sedins, that he could play wing for a year or two, and then when Henrik leaves, he can move in and be an offensive center. But that kind of flopped. He was all over the lineup, and I don't see that changing. I talked to him at the end of the year, and he was frustrated. He was I'm telling you, he didn't say this specifically, but it was easy to read between the lines that he had hoped early in the season to spend a long time with the Sedins. It didn't happen to the end of the year. There was some frustration there, and certainly some frustration by him that he only produced 31 points in the season. Well, 31 points, I hope he's a better player than that, but I look up and down the Canucks lineup and I think, okay, they'll add a middle six center, they'll probably add a winger. Where is he going to play? Where is he going to end up?
Right, and again, with this money that they've got, I do expect that they are going to spend some, but then it comes back to this question, Botch, of, they've got this massive pile of middle to bottom six forwards. I don't know about you, but I watch the playoffs through the Canucks prism. I watch every team that's having success, and I sort of, where do the Canucks match up? They don't, against the good teams, but, you talk about chasing the different models and whatnot. But when it comes to elite talent on the Vancouver Canucks, you got Besser.
Yeah.
Pettersson is on the path.
You hope Pettersson, and then
Horvat's a good player, but he's not an elite player. I'm not gonna, and I don't think he'd put himself in that category either.
In terms of offensive difference makers, you got Besser, and you hope you have Pettersson.
Yeah.
That's it. And people are excited about Dallin. I want to see Dallin too, but you can't get around this. Like, he had 44 points this year. He had 44 points last year. And, yeah, mono was an impact and had an effect on his season. But that's he's playing the second division there in Sweden. It's at least a little – you can't depend on him. And most people in the organization, they see him as kind of middle six winger. He's not going to step in. And they don't expect him to step in and be a first-line player. And things can change. But if you're expecting him to be an offensive difference maker, I think that you're on the wrong path, at least in terms of being that elite guy you're talking about.
And I've seen here since the season ended, and I think I may have even taken part at some point, like, people are just kind of throwing depth charts against the wall. Now, it's impossible to know what the Canucks are going to look like when they arrive at training camp and who they've brought in free agency, and let's hope that there is some trade activity as well, because we know that what they finished with isn't good enough. So they've got to change the complexion of this lineup. But I see people trying to put together, depth charts and line combinations given what the Canucks have in their stable right now. And again, it comes back to, like, I can't get past how many bottom six guys that they've got, and how many times did we hear Travis Green? Like, it was one of his mantras this past season. I want guys I can win with.
Right.
Do you think 1 year on the job was enough for him to make some declarations about individuals, first of all, and second of all?
Well, you'd have to name them, and I'll tell you what he thinks of them.
All right, Sutter.
Yeah, man, like, that's, to me, like, that's a great one to throw out there, because I think when you talk about all those lineups being thrown at the wall, he just stands out there. Like, I just keep seeing Brandon Sutter, 17 and a half minutes a game, no offense, just a black hole of offense. It's just not the way teams that win are constructed. So he can talk about, and obviously he loves them, and obviously he knows that he gives them a really tough position to be in, and maybe that changes if they get a center who can take some of the pressure off of them in terms of defensive responsibility. Like, he does for sure play hard minutes. I agree. But he's never crested 40 points in his career. And you look at the teams that win, and they all have, like, or a lot of them have, like, fast, dangerous third lines that can produce offense. And I look at Brandon Sutter, and I'm just thinking, fuck, that's just not going to happen there. It just stands out to me as the biggest hurdle that there is in the lineup, because how do you get like, they were second last in offense 2 years ago. This past season, they were sixth last, and that's with Besser. So they got a bump from Besser. Now, at some point, they have to be an average offensive team. Now, how do you get there? I'm not sure you can if Sutter is in this big matchup role and he's playing 17 and a half minutes a game, and the coach keeps saying, well, I don't expect anyone on that line to score. What? Sorry, that's not how the NHL works right now. It's just not. No, you'll never win like that. I'm not sure that they can win. You talk about players he can win with. He looks to me as a guy that has a blind spot with being able to see this point. And that is, it's going to be very difficult for them to win without scoring a lot more. And it's going to be hard for them to score a lot more if Sutter's playing 17 and a half minutes a game. If you could cut him down to 13, 14 minutes, I would think maybe. But that's why, like, possibly that I've been thinking lately, like, can you trade Sutter for a younger, like, to a playoff team that buys into this idea that they need some kind of defensive help matchup guy in the playoffs to get a younger guy with upside who can potentially produce offense. Like, if they had McCann right now in that spot, I think they'd be fine. I'd be like, you know what? He can skate, he can shoot. Like, there's upside there. He can get more offense, and he's a good defensive two-way center. I think they'd be okay. But whenever I see Sutter, I'm like, fuck. Like, how are they going to score? And who's going to end up there? Like, is Eriksson going to end up there in his $6 million?